Alright.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I am the Dungeon Master for this crazy whirlwind of a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition show. We stream, well, actually, let's first introduce players before I go into announcements and just keep talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, Nick, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus, the human dungeon paladin.
I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who is a tiefling wild magic sorcerer.
I'm Melissa. I play Mara, who is a human rogue pirate.
Nice enunciation.
I'm Zach. I'm Zach, and I play Hunter, who's a Warforged fighter ranger.
So a couple of announcements, then we'll get into a recap, and then we'll get right into the show. We stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, then post those episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items, as well as a wild magic table. Our music comes from BattleBards, TabletopAudio, and Incompetech. And then our new character portraits on the info cards and the starting soon screen, etc. were done by Carrie Peach, who you can find on Twitter, and she's fantastic. So if you're watching us on Twitch, you can check the channel page for pretty much links and info about everything I just said and more. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can check the video description for similar information. And then if you still want more from us, you can follow us on Twitter at AntiheroesAnon to find out when we're going live, when we have to skip because someone's sick or something or other, which only happens occasionally. And other than that, we hope you enjoy the show, and we'll get right into a recap and then get started. So, the party had learned of the Vampire Alkene's scheme to seize some of the Raven Queen's memories as part of his plan to take over Ravenmoor and eventually, potentially, ascend to godhood. Or at least that's what Thaddeus' deity assumed is his plan. Then at Melora's temple in Redwater, the party reunited with Phineas, Eli, Mint, and Dawn, some friends from previous in the campaign. The group then teleported to Orin's old tower in Ravenmoor, where they began to see changes throughout the city which were not pleasant. They then snuck through the back streets on the way to one of Mandus's old safe houses, but on the way they saw that a group of Yuan-Ti, who they'd been warned about in advance, as well as a Medusa, their leader, had been enslaving the citizens of Ravenmoor to build a pyramid over a portal to the Shadowfell. As well as they witnessed the hanging corpse of Tal, one of Hunter and Harmony's past companions. They then decided to find Allan, one of the orphans from First Light Orphanage, who they had rescued much earlier in the campaign. I think we worked it out. This will be like your 4th time searching for Allan.
The fourth time?
Yeah, because you rescued him from the Eder Caps, and then there was another one. I know later he ran away in Northwood, so the Tal had to go looking for him there.
But then this is only the 3rd time.
There was
I
another
thought there
time,
was
too.
one more.
I thought, didn't him and the other get captured by Cranston's or whatever?
Yeah, that was when you rescued him from the Eder Caps. Anyways,
Oh, okay. That was
you've maybe it was the 3rd time,
Well,
but
we
you
looked
searched
for
for this
him.
kid a lot.
We looked for him. The search for him to find him from the Eder Cats was quite extensive because we had to figure out where he was first, and then we had to go to the Eder Cat caves and find him. So maybe that felt like 2 when it's actually just 1.
But anyways, they determined that he was organizing or helping to support some refugees down in the sewers. And on their way there, they encountered a couple of shadow dragons who swooped down, spotted them and swooped down from above. But in an excellent display of prowess, they managed to slay the dragons and enter the sewers. And that's where we left off, so that's where we're going to pick up. You guys closed the sewer grate behind you. You could still see that one of the shadow dragons was trying to wriggle its way out of that giant hand of earth that Eli conjured to grab onto it, but to no avail. And you kind of duck down into the darkness of the sewers and quickly leave that sight behind you. I'm just going to put on some music so you guys can talk through it if you want to talk about it.
Sewer meeting?
Sewer music.
Oh, sewer music. You're like, let's have a sewer meeting.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what we need to do right now.
So as you descend down into darkness, the steps go down maybe like 30, 40 feet before it levels out into a stone passageway. And you can see it by the light of Thaddeus's sword and Dawn's mace, which both emanate light. Thaddeus is a more pale moonlit light, and Dawn's a more radiant sunlight-like light. But by both of their lights, you can see that the tunnel stretches off far ahead of you into darkness. And you seem to be on one side of like a two-way path that is divided by maybe 15 feet of foul-smelling sewer water. And then you can see that there's another path running parallel to yours on the other side of that.
I'm gonna jump across to the other side.
Okay.
Just so that like both sides are lit.
Does anything look familiar about this passage of sewer? Or does it all just look the same?
Once you get down to the bottom, you can see it kind of stretches out in front of you, but also behind you. And then in both directions, you can see that they kind of branch off into other passageways. But no, nothing at all strikes you as familiar, since none of you have been down here.
Well, I meant sex drive. So
Oh.
we've seen
Uh,
the room they were in.
at least the stonework looks to be the same, so you know you're on the right track. But there's nothing that immediately triggers like, oh, if I go down this tunnel, I'll come into the room that I saw when I was scrying.
Can I do like a survival check to see if I can find traces of somebody?
Yeah.
Can I help?
It's with help.
Yeah. I'm skilled with
I got a
Hey,
natural
hey.
20
Yes!
And a 3.
and a 3. Thanks for the help.
You're welcome.
Do you want the roll itself, or
No, if you got a natural 20.
Okay.
You, like immediately as you begin to look around this area, and it still takes a few minutes before you find anything that seems to hint as to a direction, but you see that there's like the entire area down here is filthy, and you can just with very careful inspection by the light of Thaddeus's sword and Dawn's mace, you can see that there are footprints that go off further into the tunnels. And it looks like there's several sets of them, some of them small, some of them large, but they go off in a specific direction, and then they turn down one corridor, and then they turn down another.
okay? So I'll just quietly tell the group, like, look this way, and I'll show everyone the track that I
Sorry,
found.
what? Quietly tell us what?
Yeah, but this way.
Okay.
I'm gonna let
Stay
Seth
whisper.
sneak out to room 2.
Oh, you're right. As you set him down on the ground, he kind of gives you, he looks up at you, and his kind of like pink exposed brain is just like wobbling up there. And he gives you a look and a squeak and runs off into the darkness.
Are we
Okay.
following him, or do you
No,
just
I just
set your
gonna
pet
let
for him?
Yeah,
Okay,
just gonna
cool.
let him go and see what he can find. Maybe
Alright.
he'll report back. If he wants to live there, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, that happens. Alright, so let's follow the footprints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stick to the other side of the water just to make sure nothing surprises us.
Eventually, they have to take a turn to the right, so you have to kind of hop over and then hop to the other side again.
But I got
With your
this.
boots, that's no problem. And the pathway you end up following is twisting and turning. It goes like it turns corners just constantly, to the point that at certain points it almost feels like you're going in circles. And with your survival check, at some point you begin to notice that one set of larger footprints sort of diverges off from some of maybe the smaller footprints, and then sort of rejoins and then continues onward. And as you're following, you notice that several times that set of footprints diverges off and then comes back. And then you get to a point where you find it diverges off and doesn't come back.
Are the footprints all like humanoid, I guess, or are they?
Yeah, all the sets of footprints, you don't see like any snake
They-
trails or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah.
They all seem to be either booted or barefoot human.
Do the footprints have different like age Like, is like the big footprints like older than the other footprints?
Yeah, with your natural 20 on survival, you could tell that the some of the smaller footprints seem to be more fresh than others. But the big set of footprints that keeps going off and coming back, and then eventually goes off and doesn't come back, is one of the older sets of footprints.
Older sets. Okay.
Between the groups.
Allan is one of the older orphans.
But these are bigger.
But are they older than what Allan was?
Are they like smaller, like normal size small, or are they smaller, like little kid small?
Smaller size small?
I'm just trying to understand what like smaller to bigger footprints are. Is it like big footprints like that?
I think this is mandatory.
They're all within the range of normal human foot sizes.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just follow.
Let's
group of
follow
footprints.
the smaller,
smaller
ones
ones,
for
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And we can figure out.
They're
Bless
like
you.
this guy's size. Small sneezes. Bless you 7 times.
He's like, no. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll follow the smaller set of footprints.
Okay. You follow those footsteps for a little while longer. Before, what's everyone's passive perceptions?
Bad.
12.
10. No, it's 12.
Mine is 16, and then my tiger's is 22.
You come to a fork in the road, so to speak, and your tiger, sort of, Byakko the white tiger, kind of nudges your leg a little bit, and then points its head to the side down one of the tunnels, and just kind of looks up at you with its glowing green eyes.
Okay, so I'll go and I'll bring out my sword and shield and like look across and see where he's looking.
He seems to be looking off into the darkness beyond the range of the sword and mace's light.
Okay. Sorry, I was talking. So it's on Thaddeus' side, I guess? Or is it
No, it's on your side,
on our side?
but it's another branch off of the tunnel that you're on, and it just goes off into darkness.
And then I'll tell the group there's something over there, and I'll point in that area.
Well, if it's close to the orphans, maybe, and it's a threat, maybe we need to get rid of it.
Who had
Worth checking
the
out, yeah.
16 passive perception?
Me.
Now that you start to listen down the tunnel, you hear like a faint sound coming from. It echoes down the tunnel, and it's a yep. And it's just it'll be quiet for a second, and then yep.
Somebody have hiccups.
It wasn't me.
Is there any way we can determine what that is right now, or do we have to go investigate anything?
Well, you could roll like a wisdom check of some kind, perception perhaps.
Perception? Okay. How does a 18 do?
Yeah, it really sounds like someone down there has the hiccups.
Okay. Sounds like a person?
Well, could be someone we want to meet.
Okay.
Are we going to together? Are we just sending one of us? Or what are we doing?
So let's all work together. I don't think they're separate at all.
Okay.
Does this sound also align with like the larger set of footprints? Or any of the sets of footprints?
No, that was a ways back. That
Okay.
the larger set branched off and didn't come back.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna, at this branch, I'm gonna nail a python, however you say that, into the wall to make
Kind of mark
sure.
the spot.
Yeah.
So that makes kind of a really loud clacking sound
Yeah.
as you're nailing that in. And that echoes throughout the entire chamber.
Well, so let's remain stealthy.
And
Let's
you
nail
hear
something?
Dawn and Thaddeus both shrug.
from the,
And
the,
him.
the source of the hiccups, you hear a rustling sound, but then the hiccups continue. Yeah.
Okay.
Are they getting further away or staying where they are?
Seem to be staying where they are.
Alright, let's go meet whoever this hiccup person
okay.
is.
I'm gonna minor illusion the sound of a hiccup from our group
Okay.
to send a signal.
Yeah. There's just a chorus of hiccups from. You make your way down the tunnel slowly, with Thaddeus and Dawn kind of in the lead to light up the area. And it's since you're all kind of on your guard and paying extra care to your surroundings, it just kind of throws you off when you look back and you see that your shadows are casting across the walls, and they almost have this like sinister aspect to them, as if they are bending in kind of weird, inhuman ways. But as you proceed forward with that measured caution, you see what looks like a pile of rags, just like filthy rags on the ground. Often, like there's like a little indent that goes off, and you can see that there's a sewer pipe in there that kind of would be pouring water maybe sometimes, but it isn't right now. And in that little indent, just before the pipe, there is a pile of rags. And that seems to be the source of the hiccups. As you get up close, you can hear the hiccup sound coming from that, like under the rags. Yeah.
Under the rags.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm gonna cast Mage Hand to pick up the rags. Kind of.
As you do that, you're greeted by a hissing sound as you pull the rags off of a curled body, but it seems to be a humanoid that is dressed in just robes or clothing that might have been fine at one point, but they are tarnished and they are dirty. They're covered in sewer filth, and what you can see that isn't covered by this clothing is a serpentine head that comes up out of the neck area, kind of like the humanoid snakes that you saw earlier. And it has sort of, I wrote down a description, sort of red and tan scales and kind of a speckled pattern. And as it hisses, this long, venomous orange forked tongue flicks out of its mouth. And you can see that its poisonous green eyes kind of narrow at you, and especially at the bright light. And its triangular head almost flares like that of a cobra. And it just kind of observes the group of you and says, "Who are you? Who are you? That's neither here nor there."
What's wrong with you?
And it's at that point that you notice when you lifted the rags, you also basically lifted about 10 bottles of what looks like they probably contained alcohol at some point, kind of all clattered to the floor. And this snake creature staggers to its feet and kind of braces itself against the wall and says, "I asked you first."
We found you. We get to ask the
And
questions.
you can see its eyes are darting back and forth, kind of looking for.
Are you with the slavers upstairs?
No, not at the moment, anyways. And if you're not, then perhaps we don't have to come to blows. Maybe you'll just let me go about my way. Yep. And it kind of like wobbles forward a little bit. And you can see that it has like a scimitar at its belt, and it kind of is keeping a hand on it as it sways back and forth. But it doesn't look like it's in any condition to actually fight.
Drunken brawlers.
It might tell us something we can use if it knows more about you on the upstairs.
If you want me to tell you something, you do well to stop referring to me as an it. My name, if I can remember it from my notes, my name is Sisaba.
So I'm not gonna make you read that.
We're gonna call you
in a
that.
normal tone of voice.
Sisaba.
Sisaba.
Yep. You would do well to show me some respect.
Of course.
Okay, calm down, buddy. Look, we're not here to hurt you.
It kind of like reaches down and picks up one of the bottles and goes to pour it. You notice there's more in there. Like it's looking for if there's any drops left, and then a little pours out. And it's like wasteful. It takes a big drink. Yep. Kind of wipes its mouth.
I don't think I have any alcohol left.
Not even that bottle of wine you gave me?
That fancy one? Well, we drank that.
That's gonna be
I need to stop that. Okay. Look, buddy.
Sisaba.
We are not
You
here.
can see it gives you a little bit of a nod, and then sort of stumbles to the side, having lost balance when it nodded.
We're not here to hurt you. We're not big fans of people that, you know, are hurting people in this town, but you look pretty harmless. And if you're not with them, then we don't have any beef with you.
When you say you look pretty harmless, its tongue flares. It's like,
You wouldn't say that 2 weeks ago, I guarantee that.
I probably wouldn't have said that 2 hours ago, judging by the amount of alcohol you've consumed. What's your deal, buddy? What are you doing down here?
he lets out a little a hissing sound while he kind of he looks back and forth at all of you, kind of weighing his options a little bit. And he says,
I suppose it wouldn't hurt my situation to be a little bit candid. I do want to make it out of this alive.
and he's like eyeing your weapons.
I still
Yeah.
have
There's
mine
like
out.
there's like 8 of us.
If that's all you
yeah,
want,
there's
then
way more of you than there are of him.
if that's all you want, then I assure you, it's in your best interest to be very candid.
As he's speaking, though, you do notice that his scales kind of change color a little bit, and they almost seem to change to the colors of what's behind him. They like blend with the
Like a
stonework a little
camouflage
bit.
sort of?
Yeah, but he does speak, and he says,
I may not look it at this point, but I was a ruler of a small tribe of Yuan-Ti 2 weeks ago. And then she, that heretic, that blasphemer, emerged from her exile. And she sent out a call that we all felt across the world. And we had to come. But when we got here, she began to kill all of the former leaders to assert her dominance and to eat us.
And so you escaped rather than be
he
killed.
does kind of like a mocking bow.
Very smart, of course. That's what I did.
And you escaped to the sewer to get drunk.
That just happened on accident.
Where are you from originally? Where were you on the call again?
Not far from here, in the forest. There are serpents in places you creatures would not even imagine.
Duly noted.
And he kind of like goes to like take a step towards you, but then wobbles backwards and falls back and kind of sits on the ground.
Does he have legs?
Yeah, he has humanoid legs. He's
Okay.
he's that type that you saw sort of on patrol.
Hmm.
Basically, completely human except for the top half, which is emerging from the dirty rags of clothing, which is that cobra-like head.
I'll be frank, we're here to kill the queen. What was her name? Ixtada?
Ixlati.
Ixlati, thank you. We're here to kill her. And my initial instinct was for there to be no survivors, but you might want your band back?
They all betrayed me when they sided with her.
So no then.
They choose to follow a heretic who doesn't believe in the serpent gods.
So why do you call her a heretic?
She betrayed the ancient gods of our people. You worship that bat.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of spits as he says it. And you can see that as he spits, the stone it lands on kind of corrodes.
Okay.
She's a traitor to all our people stand for.
Walks behind Thaddeus.
You're here to kill her. And he kind of sizes you up again. And he chuckles to himself.
Not that I think you could.
Can I do a know your enemy on him and size him up too?
Okay, yeah, what do you want to know?
I want to know his HP compared to mine.
How much HP do you have?
108 currently.
I think he has less than yours.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
And does he have class levels?
No.
Okay. So,
How many of your kind does she have with her?
They've come from all over. It's hard to say. And she's transformed some of the people of the city since she arrived.
Yeah, I kind of saw that.
The UNT know dark rituals to our gods.
So if you want us to take her down, if you want her gone,
Every time you kind of mention yourselves taking her out, he just chuckles to himself.
what information would be helpful? Like, does she have any weaknesses?
All I can say is don't look her in the eyes. Some of those who resisted were foolish enough.
I believe I
They're
did
her
see that.
statuary decorating her garden.
I believe we did see a few of those.
Ixlati was a warrior princess and a warrior queen long before any of us were even born. She has no weaknesses.
Wait, so how can she be a traitor if she was here before you?
Because she betrayed.
He kind of like shakes his head.
You,
That doesn't make sense. Doesn't it mean she should be the
you
one
creatures
making
are
the
so
rules?
dim-witted sometimes.
How?
She betrayed our gods,
My question is,
the great serpents.
how is she still alive? You said she's ancient.
That vampire's foul magic.
So if we take out the vampire, do you think it would kill her too?
He gives like a shrug, which puts him off balance, and he kind of falls all the way over, and then sort of puts himself back up. Yep.
Lola, can I ask you a favor? I would like
His eyes narrow. He doesn't give you an answer.
I would like you to spit in this vial. I'm gonna use
He.
panache.
It's a glass.
Okay, yeah, use panache. So make a persuasion check at advantage.
Oh yes.
He has to make some sort of check against it to see if it works.
That
doesn't
looks
it?
pretty good to me.
Yeah.
How does it work? I always forget.
Wisdom, this is a wisdom.
Okay, he rolls
Wisdom insight.
a 19.
Okay.
And your
What I got is
persuasion.
Your persuasion.
Persuasion.
Yep.
Okay, so I got a 22.
Okay. He looks at you resentfully, but he snatches the bottle from you and kind of looks warily at the rest of you, as if to say, like, I have to do this, right? And after getting that kind of affirmation, he spits in the bottle, and the acid melts through the
Through the
bottom of
glass.
the bottle. Yeah,
Through
It
the
just-
acid's not supposed to melt glass. That they teach you. That's chemistry 101.
this is fantasy chemistry.
Fantasy physics make a comeback.
So it
It
Wow.
takes a couple seconds. Like, he spits into it, and there's a sizzling sound. And maybe 5 seconds later, you see it drip out the bottom.
So if I like take a couple of my arrows and try to get some on it, it's
I think your
gonna
arrows
eat
were
them
just-
too.
It's gonna eat your arrows.
Wow. Alright, that was
Whew.
Alright.
Powerful stuff.
And he kind of takes your bottle and smashes it against the wall.
Well, there goes one of my bottles.
sorry about that. I'll make it
It must have taken a lot to approach you.
My wallet.
I know.
And that should speak to just how powerful Ixlati is.
Yep.
Hunter just like shakes his head. It's like, okay.
Well, are you just gonna stay down here and just be drunk for the rest of your life? Like, what's your plan?
He looks at his supply of bottles and says,
I don't think I have the luxury of being drunk for too much longer.
Right. What happens
But
when
I'm
you
perfectly
sober up?
content to stay down here until some heroes,
and he looks at the rest of you.
such as yourselves, depose her, and I can make my escape.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes me nervous. A little bit.
He says, good, it should.
And kind of, he's swaying back and forth,
Uh,
not threatening at all. The scimitar is, at this point, like, he dropped it when he fell over, and it's closer to you guys than it is to him.
I'm not as worried about it as Centaur as I am. Saliva.
Saliva. And I'm gonna send a message to Hunter using the earring and say I'm a little worried about him being so close to the kids.
Should we try to grab him sometime?
Like I said, I'm not.
Not
worried
only
about
can make
Centaur.
sure he's not pacified, but is passive
Yeah.
or something.
That's what I'm trying to do, but I don't want to give away the fact that there are kids here.
Yeah, we won't. I don't say anything about that.
Okay, I think I know what to do. The best place for you to know when we're successful will be closer to where we came in. If you follow our footsteps, you shouldn't have to wait long to figure out whether or not we succeed.
He sort of sits up a little bit more and he says,
Don't you think I thought of that? Don't you think I thought of how I would know when someone had come and posed of her, if someone could? No. The closer I am to an entrance, the closer I am to a location where they will enter and come down here, and then I'm dead.
Well,
I need to be hidden.
we found you pretty easily, so maybe you need to go deeper into the sewer. Hide farther. Is there real
roll a persuasion check.
Sure.
I'm kind of helping her, aren't I?
Yeah, roll it at advantage.
Well, then it would be normal because I have an exhaustion.
Ah,
So not disadvantage.
Yeah.
Persuasion.
Percy.
Percy. No, I was gonna do. Where is she?
That's all you do.
This is it.
Okay, it's weird that you guys know this.
What?
I haven't watched something enough time. Right?
16.
16.
We're gonna have Mara do some sit.
He kind of looks at you, thinks for a second.
You know what? You might be right. And if you'll let me go, I'm happy to go further into the sewer and away from you.
For a price.
No.
And he kind of like looks at you and chuckles.
What do I have to give? Everything was taken from
I
me.
look at the scimitar. I look back at you.
Doesn't seem to have picked up on what you want at all. He's just kind of like,
What do I have to give?
You know what?
And
You're
then
right.
wait, I'm gonna like put my hand on his shoulder and be like, all right, one more thing then. Be like, why are they building a pyramid?
That's a foolish question.
We're foolish people.
Don't you know your history? Our civilization was... When we were powerful, that was our architecture. That was our mark on the world. We built pyramids, great pyramids, and had great civilizations.
I wouldn't know.
We'll give Ixalati one thing. If she's rebuilding our ancient architecture, that's good for her.
Okay.
Indeed.
Well, thank you. You've been very helpful. Get out of here.
You've been absolutely useless.
it says as it kind of goes to push its way past you.
I'm gonna take one of the empty alcohol bottles to replace the one he smashed.
Okay. And as he's walking away, you continue to hear the hiccups, assuming you're letting him walk away.
Yeah.
Are some of the next to these bottles just kind of like warped?
Yeah, they're all very warm.
Oh, they are all bad. Okay.
But yeah, like you could put like a cork stopper in probably
Yeah.
still, but like you couldn't put
Like-
a cap on it or anything.
Get the cork from the bottle he smashed.
Yeah.
Put it in one of these.
As he's lumbering off into the darkness, you continue to hear the hiccups getting farther and farther away. But you also, before he immediately leaves earshot, you hear him say,
You best remember the name Sisava.
Did he take his scimitar with him?
"Oh no, he left it there."
I'm gonna pick it up and just.
Yeah. It's heavy for Harmony.
Yeah.
I'll just
Hey, I'm strong.
Are you?
I have a +1.
Not bad.
My athletics is one of my proficiencies.
Oh yeah, then it's not too heavy. It's really
I'm
pretty
just
well
very
balanced.
little.
how much damage does a scimitar do?
I think it's an 8.
It's a D8?
Yeah.
It's not a long sword. Okay.
I'm not sure though. It could be something.
Did he leave anything else behind?
Just a pile of water.
He
Yeah,
had
the pile of bottles and his scimitar.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I feel better now that he's not supposed to.
we'll go the other way and follow the footsteps down, I guess.
Did you make this character recover for the fact that you actually had hiccups?
No. This was in my plans. There was actually I was looking through the UNT character options that they have in Bolos to flesh them out, and one of them was one of the flaws was I frequently overindulge in food and wine, and am impaired and lethargic for days afterwards. And I just thought that would be a great thing for a banished UNT to just be like drunk
Okay, well,
That was very pleasant.
Sisava.
I got it written down.
Me too.
Alright. it's on the agenda.
All right,
Don't forget
let's
this stuff.
go back and figure out where these
Yeah.
orphans are, huh?
Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Alright, so we'll go back to the path, or to the where the footsteps were, and follow
Okay. You follow the footsteps for quite a while before you find that they you find a point where they turn off, like all of the footsteps turn off, and then they come back to the main path, and you can see that even in the light that you're casting that direction, you can see that that pathway eventually turns into like almost like a cave-in or something. Like the path is completely blocked by rubble.
Okay.
And as you continue to follow the footsteps, you come to 3 or 4 more points where they turn off into these cave-in areas, and then come back to a main path.
I want to watch Sego to see if they've trapped the ceiling against followers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, roll a perception check.
Good, 19.
Going forward past sort of the first one, you watch the ceiling along the way, and you don't seem to see any areas of the ceiling that have been trapped against followers or anything like that. And sort of you get to the second one of those cave-ins, and you take a close look at the cave-in itself, and you do see traces of like tools and things, like picks and things like that were used on the ceiling to purposefully cave it in here for some reason. But it looks like, based on the marks you see from the tools, it looks like it was kind of a long process. Maybe
was it
several
like?
hours of work to fully cave in this tunnel.
I wonder why they did that if there's just paths around.
Interesting.
What was it? The orphans that did it, or was
Could
it
have been
something
anyone.
else?
But you continue onward, and eventually, after coming to maybe 3 or 4 of these caved-in turnoffs, you come to, they make a turnoff that doesn't lead to a cave-in. And in fact, you can see, for a while, the tunnel seems to stretch off into darkness, but eventually, as you begin to make your way down this long, dark tunnel, you hear actually a voice call out, and it says, "Stay where you are, don't come any closer. I need to know who you are and what you want before you take one step closer. Just know that there are arrows trained on your heads at this very moment."
Is that true?
Do we recognize the voice?
It sounds like a sort of youngish male voice, but no. you
No,
don't
message
recognize
her. Should we just tell them about it, Allan?
I'll put my
sorry,
hands. I'll put my hands up and say, "We're friends of First Light. We're looking for Allan and the others."
And the voice calls back, "Look, I'd love to take you at your word, but
It's Harmony and Hunter and our friends.
these serpents are devious, and they've
What
tricked us more than once. We need a little bit of
Allan
proof."
Allan had a little friend named Ronan, and she's gone missing. She was taken by some hags.
And then there's kind of like a quiet contemplation.
We know about the order to protect the doorway.
With your passive perception, Hunter, you can hear that you were the highest of the group, other than the turtle, right?
Yeah.
You can hear that there's some whispered discussion going on between a couple people in the darkness, and you can hear one of them kind of whisper loudly, "Go get Allan. Maybe he can verify."
We saved Allan from the Ettercaps. I'm just throwing out stuff
And then
that we
I'll just
did
like,
while
I'll
we
just
were
like pattern me if they're gonna hold on a minute.
And you hear the footsteps go running off further down the tunnel into the darkness, but you can't really see anything. And the voice calls back, "Just stay where you are. We're getting Allan. If you are who you say you are, then that's excellent. If not,
I'm just
we'll
a
deal
little
with that
bit
when it comes
shorter
to
than
it."
the last time I was here, but I'm the same person, I promise.
They may not know you. We'll talk to Allan.
And eventually you hear a pitter-patter of 2 footsteps, or 2 sets of footsteps coming back. And you hear more whispered conversation. This time it sounds like there's a younger party involved. And the voice eventually, this whole thing takes maybe like half an hour for them to go fetch Allan and come back.
Wow.
Okay.
But you hear the voice call back. All right. Allan seems to think that you are who you say you are, so we're going to let you come closer. Just know if you try anything, and if you're with those snake people, we will kill you.
That's fair.
Sure they will. Okay.
Do they have lights? Can we see them?
No.
Okay.
Everything is in
So-
darkness up ahead.
I'll start walking forward.
All right. So
Okay.
Hunter and I are leading the way.
Eventually, when your lights advance far enough, you see a group of people. There's maybe 7 or 8 of them on either side of that like sewer water path that runs through the middle. Several of them holding bows that are still like knocked, but they're not trained on you anymore at this point. They are all wearing like. Some of them seem to be wearing old city guard armor. Some of them seem to be wearing just like cobbled together bits of armor. Some of it leather, some of it metal. They all look very scared, very tired. Some of them have injuries. But then you can see, shorter than the rest of them, obviously, maybe 12 years old, is the little boy, Allan, who as you come closer, kind of has his hands on his hips and looks from one to the other of you, stopping on Hunter, and says, yeah, they weren't going to be able to mimic that guy, I don't think.
And I'll kneel down and be like, they didn't kidnap you too, did they?
Oh, the snake people? No.
No, these guys. I'll point at the guards they have. They
Oh, no, these guys have just been guarding the tunnels for us. Look, and he kind of turns to the...
I'll like pat him.
Yeah, are the guards kids or are they adults?
They're adults.
Okay.
And you can see that the guy who was talking kind of has he's got like 2 weeks worth of stubble growing on his face, but it's patchy. And he's one of those that kind of has like pieced together armor. And he kind of looks at the group of you and says to Allan, look, kid, I'm going to send a couple of my men back with you, but if you can escort this group back to the main Nexus, then we'll keep watch here. And Allan kind of nods, and sort of 2 of the other guards, a man and a woman, peel off with Allan and begin to walk further down the tunnel. And Allan kind of looks at you, the group of you, and says, come on, this way.
why does he need other guards? We're going.
Just
Shrug.
follow.
And I'll just nod at the guy that was talking to us
I'll
and
nod
walk
at
with
the guy too. Thank you.
Allan.
I think. Wait. I'm going to stop with the people who are stopped here and says, do you know about Sisaba?
About who?
One of the Yantees down here. Not a threat, I don't think.
We got
But
this weapon.
just be on guard. He's not with us like this. Some deposed king, they said.
Look, any UNT who come this way are dying. I don't care who they're with.
Fair.
We just don't have time or luxury to be picky with our arrows. So,
Thaddeus nods and walks up.
Keep up the good work. And walk off.
yeah, and you kind of leave them in darkness. So yeah, they must be struggling with their watch, but they're managing somehow.
It probably was easier because we had so much light with us.
Yeah.
You should hire Blindside Mara. Oh yeah, I see them. Just fine.
Well, it's more about hearing, I think, with license.
Oh right.
I'll be walking with Allan.
So he eventually leads you down a tunnel that goes maybe 15 more minutes. And there are other branches off of it, but you can see that they're caved in as well. And eventually you come out into this large Nexus area. It's maybe like a 100-foot diameter area, and there are just tents set up all over the place. And as you come into the Nexus area, a man runs up. He's kind of he's maybe like 6'1". He's on the taller side. He's got city guard armor with sort of the crest of Ravenmoor on it. Longer hair that's tied back in a bun, and a full beard. And he looks at the 2 guards and says, "All right, look, I've got it from here. You can go back to your post." And then he turns to the rest of you and says, or he turns to Allan and says, "So these guys are your friends?" And Allan kind of gives a nod. And then he turns to the rest of you and says, Well, you look like you've seen some combat from.
Yeah, we were
looks
attacked
of
by
you.
a couple of those dragons.
Yeah, that's why we're not sending people up to the surface right now, because they'll notice from above.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Come in. I'm Jeremiah, and he reaches out his hand to kind of shake your hands.
Yeah.
Hunter.
Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock.
Nice to meet you, Sir. Damn it. I can't speak. Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock.
Thaddeus Hammerlock.
It was just Ethan. Jeremiah. And he kind of walks the group of you into the camp.
Are you the captain of the guard down here, or just?
Down here, yes.
Were you formerly of the Ravenmoor guard, or?
Yes, I was. Back before all this happened.
I want to hear everything.
I'm sure you would.
Here.
Why don't you come with me to my tent? My wife's in there, and we can talk. And as you walk through this encampment, you notice a couple things.
Before we go with the guard, I'll have a word with Allan, but
Yeah.
if he's still with us.
Yeah, Allan seems to be like he's coming with you
Yeah.
for this conversation.
Okay.
So you can talk to him on the way. But as you're walking and having this conversation, you notice a couple things. There are humans down here, both like adult and child, but there are also some sort of smaller, squat, bird-like creatures, which Hunter and Harmony have seen before. Yeah, they almost look like crows that are without wings, and they seem to be off in their own corner together. Harmony and Hunter can also roll a perception check to see if you recognize anyone else.
Disadvantage.
I rolled 1.
Because I'm exhausted.
Unless you're giving me passive perception.
Okay, that's
there-
11.
Is there a rule for passive perception or not?
This one would be a little more active.
Sure, I didn't do it.
With your 11, though, you recognize that there is a man sitting with the Kenku group who you recognize. He's kind of tall, gangly, dressed in like an old brown coat that's just filthy. You recognize the crazy homeless man from the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
one
wouldn't
who
know him actually.
Initially,
I
that's
never
right,
saw
you
him.
wouldn't.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I
fair.
rolled a 1.
But yeah, the one who turned Tal and Harmony on to the fact that the Kenku came and took Allan and Ronan seems to be hanging out with the Kenku group.
Of course he is.
And yeah, so you're walking through this pathway and you have a moment to talk to Allan. He's kind of just sitting standing by your side as you're walking forward. He's kind of looking up at you. Actually, he kind of looks down on you.
Is he taller?
Yeah, you
He's
notice
not
he's
taller.
grown a couple inches.
He's
feels
probably grown, and I'm only what, 4.
He's grown.
I'm 4'3" right now.
Eventually.
So, you're a lot bigger than the last time I saw you.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. How have you been?
Not great, but look, this is what Mandus trained us for, so we're doing the best we can. And he kind of puts on a smile.
I'm proud of you. I know you've been through a lot, especially.
And he kind of looks down at his feet. Yeah, it wasn't easy after what happened to Ronan, but
I'm sorry. We really tried to save.
I know, and look, I don't blame you. It was, I wasn't okay, but then Tal came back, and I don't know, we talked a lot about it. He told me that Ronan would want me to be strong, and so that's what I'm doing. And then he looks to the ground again, and he kind of, you can see that tears well in his eyes a little bit. And he says, "Even though Tal's not here now, too."
Yeah, I saw what they did to him. I'm so sorry.
And he kind of like brushes his eyes. It's okay.
I like put a hand on his shoulder.
He looks up at you. The gesture seems appreciated. Like, he puts on a brave smile as he looks back at you.
We came back because we know that Mandus is in trouble too. and
His eyes go wide.
we worried
What?
about you guys, and we came back to help.
What do you mean Mandus is in trouble? He's not with you?
He was. We thought he came back to you, but then we found out about what's happening here, and we got worried.
As you're walking by sort of like a campfire that has been put out for the moment, it's just kind of glowing coals, he actually kind of like in a fit of rage just kicks it. And then sparks and cinders kind of go a little bit all over the place. But he then kind of takes a deep breath and turns back to you. Okay, right, okay, if Mandus is in trouble and Mandus isn't with you, then things are worse than we thought.
Look. Allan, it's gonna be okay. We're here. Everything's gonna be fine. We brought back our strong friends, and we
And
came.
he kind of looks around and he says, where's the dwarf?
Nazria, she went back to help her family, but we have Mara, who's really sneaky, like you guys are, very good at getting around, and we have Thaddeus, who's got some really cool powers, even though he's kind of a bit of a jerk. They're really good at what they do, and we, Hunter and I, we've grown a lot too, even though I shrank.
He kind of chuckles and says, I was wondering, but I didn't want to say anything.
It's a long story.
It's a short story.
We're gonna look. We're gonna figure this out, and everything's gonna be fine. Just, I need you to keep a brave face for the rest of the orphans, okay?
That's what I've been doing, and we've been doing our best to make. He kind of gestures to the campsite. We've been doing our best to make this possible, but it's tough. It's getting harder
How long have you been holding out here?
since they came.
Which
I think
was-
Jeremiah is going to tell you the whole story once we get in the tent. And at this
Yes.
point, you are about at a tent. Jeremiah opens it up, and it's kind of lit inside by an oil lamp. And you can see that there is a sort of a bedroll there. Two bedrolls actually that are laid out. And in one of them, sort of sitting up, propped up against a crate, with sort of a pillow between the crate and the bedroll, is a woman who is very pregnant.
Yeah.
She's got kind of like long black hair that's tied back. And as the rest of you come in, she just kind of looks to the group, or looks to Jeremiah and says, "Darling, who are these people?" And he explains that you came with Allan. And then he sort of pulls up more crates for everyone to sit down, and begins to launch into a story. And he explains that.
What's his wife's name?
Oh, right. She introduces herself when you come in. After Jeremiah explains who you are. Her name is Helen. He says, "This is my wife, Helen. Look, if you can fight, and it looks, he kind of looks at all of your gear and things like that. It really looks like you can. You couldn't have come at a better time, and we need all the help we can get. Especially if Allan trusts you. Him and his orphan companions have been essential in making all of this work.
I'm glad to hear that.
So you want to know everything that happened.
Start from the beginning. I mean, it would be nice to hear about what happened after the Cransons with the dirt, but you know, we can start from the bad stuff.
I'm just switching music. Hold on.
I mean, I'm kind of curious about the setup of the council and everything like that, but that's not really relevant right now, right?
Sure, Dawn could tell us about
Yeah,
it.
that's true. She didn't stay the whole time, though. She told us a little bit.
Is it good one? Sure, that's okay. He kind of puts his hand on his head and massages his temple a little bit. It was just an ordinary day, like any other. But then night fell, and the watch was changing. I remember because I was supposed to be stationed on the northern gate, and I was on my way there when I heard the screams. They were coming from the direction of the orphanage, I gather, now knowing what we know. Apparently, undead, foul creatures just began to pour forth from the orphanage itself in endless numbers. We fought back, of course, but it was just so sudden. We were so unprepared. And so these orphans, one of them, there was a young man. His name was Tal. He kind of gestures towards the camp. Well, he was the first to bring refugees down here. It was his idea when we started to get overwhelmed. And without him, I don't think any of these people would be. Well, if they were alive, they wouldn't be free. Many still are enslaved above. And it was after all of the undead began to pour forth that the shadow dragons came from the same portal. They just came in massive numbers. And the skies were blacked out. It was just too much. We couldn't stand against them. But then, from outside of the walls, if things couldn't get any worse, these serpents appeared, these monsters. They began taking people. The undead were one thing, they just killed and killed. The serpents wanted laborers, slaves.
Sound of the slaves.
Yep.
Shouting against their oppressors.
And he says,
Darkling?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
their queen, the monstrous queen of theirs, she made a point of capturing and killing our leaders and demonstrating her power. That's what happened to Tal. And to Laura, who I don't know if you know Laura, but she was...
Yeah,
She was on the council which we had set up after the Cranstons.
Good thing we didn't scry on her. That would have been a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah.
She's currently decorating the gardens of that pyramid they're trying to build.
I'm sorry.
The orphans told us that their headmaster would be coming back any day now. And we were sort of holding out for his return, but I heard your conversation on the way in. If he's not coming, then
I don't think he's coming.
you're our only hope.
We've come in his place.
And that's the situation.
Have you... So you've seen the queen. Have
He
you
nods.
seen the vampire? Oh, king.
I've seen a number of undead. I don't know if I could tell a vampire from a zombie,
That's fair.
from a skeleton, from a mummy. I've heard of all these things, but they're all just masses of rotting flesh that want to eat you in the end. So,
Well, I appreciate what you're doing down here, keeping the refugees safe.
it's not going to last much longer. The orphans are having more and more trouble getting us food.
It won't have to.
He kind of nods a little solemnly, but hesitantly, like, I hope so, but he's a little unsure.
How will you escape detection?
I don't know. We hid down here, and that's all we've done. No one has come for us.
is it enchanted? Down here. Like protected magic.
We collapsed all the tunnels that lead to this nexus, except for the one, so that we could guard it better.
Makes sense.
That's smart.
So there's really only one way out here, and it's all the way back through the sewers to the entrance we came in.
He nods.
Eh.
There has to be more than one sewer entrance, not just that one.
There's plenty of sewer entrances, but there's only one path to this nexus.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, I see.
We made sure of that.
Yeah,
You
not
collapse
just
the
that one.
walls the way as the other ones.
They're just enclosing their position, but you can branch out to the other entrances.
We need someone who can get us to the Temple of the Raven Queen.
He kind of raises an eyebrow. Why do you need to go there?
Something very important.
Something that will help?
Something that the vampire wants that we need to keep away from.
Well, if it's that important, then of course we'll do what we can to help get you there. If it will help turn the tides in this.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks to Allan. And he says, "Would you be able to help get them to the cathedral?" And Allan kind of stands up, brushes his legs off, and crosses his arm and nods.
What do you think of that as an agenda? Temple today, Bazaar out tomorrow?
You've probably been wandering the sewers for several hours at this point, so you would guess that it is probably past midday.
So temple now, and you plan tomorrow?
Well, I imagine the plan is just to go to the pyramid and kill everything we see.
I'm sure there's a smarter way to do it than that. That pyramid is out in the open there. It's just, you're just a sitting duck there.
They are too then.
I mean, we fought being outnumbered before, but this is different. We need to figure out how to get the queen on our own. We don't even know how to kill her.
Or find a way to where vampire is instead.
That's true.
Or just, yeah, that's true, just get through the gate.
I would rather
We
just
know
do
where
that.
the queen takes her rest, if that would be helpful.
Yes?
It's heavily guarded, and not, to be honest, much of a better option than attacking the temple during the day. She always keeps her little pet with her wherever she goes. But she's every night goes to what used to be the Cranston's residence to rest. She sort of claimed that as her space.
Don't you know some secret way in?
Yeah, well, the way in that we found was through Shadowlands.
What's her pet?
It's a monstrous creature. Killed many of my men. Many heads.
Oh, like a
Monstrous reptile. Scaled. Claws as long as a blade. Teeth about as long as well.
Do you know what I mean?
Should we know what a hydra is?
You could roll a Arcana check at disadvantage.
All right.
How about me?
You could roll an Arcana check regular, but at disadvantage.
At disadvantage.
Thanks.
Okay, I have no idea what a hydra is.
Wow.
You're at disadvantage for the record because you're from the other regions.
Makes sense.
I mean,
Although, wait,
that's an 11.
isn't Orochi kind of like a hydra?
Maybe once, yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing that would spring into your mind.
So he says that, and I'm thinking like, oh my god.
Because the
I'm gonna,
Orochi
like-
depiction that you know is like this 8-headed serpent.
Yeah, I'm like, what's its name?
I don't know if it has a name. I've never been close enough to hear it. I pray I never am.
That does sound like a better bet. Sometimes we can sneak up on it.
But yeah, maybe I think Harmony, having traveled the world, would have heard of dangerous swamp creatures that fit that description. Maybe not knowing much beyond that, but yeah, you've heard of creatures like that before.
It's also someplace, if we go tomorrow, you can help us in because you've been there before.
That's true. But then I don't have my strongest magic available during a fight. If it comes to that. Also, how are we going to fight it without looking at her?
And therein lies the problem we've been having.
We just found out that
If it's dark, I have blind sense. I'll know exactly where she is.
so you can close your eyes.
That doesn't help the rest of us though.
It doesn't help the rest of us.
You think she might be vulnerable to her own sight?
It's possible. She doesn't always raise her veil. When she does, you best not meet her gaze. That much we know.
So it's safe to look at her if her veil is down. But if we wake her from sleep,
You like make some shields that have mirrors on them.
I thought it slips in some shoes.
Yeah, I might be able to make a mirror out of something.
Or glue her eyes shut. Sovereign glue.
That would actually be awesome.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Wax would work too.
Or just anything in her eyes. Well, let's go to the Ravenmoor's temple and we can talk more about what we're doing
Yeah, I think
tomorrow, later.
Okay, and Jeremiah stands up and kind of gives the group of you a little bit of a head bow and comes around and like shakes each of your hands and says, "Look, we had our hopes that Allan's headmaster would come home, but since it sounds like that's not going to happen, you're pretty much." He looks at you and you can tell that he's, from at a glance, been able to tell how capable you are at fighting. He says, "I think that the four of you, or actually the six of you, since Dawn and Eli are there as well, are probably our only hope."
Yeah, poker owls. 7 of you.
We're going to do this. We're going to save Ravenmoor. We're going to die trying.
Again.
None of us will die again.
I mean, save Ravenmoor.
No, we're going to save Ravenmoor.
And he gives a solemn nod. If there's anything, I don't have many men, but if there's anything that we can do to support whatever efforts you're going to make to dethrone this self-imposed queen, you let us know. I think that any one of the guards down here are willing at this point to sacrifice their lives.
We'll take it into consideration. Hopefully it
How
won't come
many
to that.
men are we talking? How large is your force?
Not many. Maybe 15, 20.
Thank you.
And not all of them are well trained. Some of my men and women just volunteered when all of this happened, but
Thank you. We'll come up with a plan and we'll let you know.
yeah, as you're leaving, both Jeremiah and Helen kind of both thank you profusely for coming in their time of need. But then Jeremiah looks like he's going to fuss around getting something for Helen, so he kind of leaves you to depart the tent on your own. And as the 7 of you, including Allan and Eli and Dawn, depart the tent, standing pretty much exactly outside the tent is that gangly, dirty homeless man. And he just is basically right outside the tent, and he looks at the group of you with wide eyes and goes,
Hello! It's nice to see you again.
"Hello,
Thank
have
you.
we met? I think I
Uh,
would remember meeting a person like you."
you know what? Maybe I'm mistaking you for someone else.
I've got one of those faces.
Yeah, you do.
Spy.
How's life with the crow people?
Oh, it's excellent. They're excellent companions.
Yeah,
They can make all kinds of noises. It's wonderful.
I bet. Okay, well,
And
bye.
as you kind of like begin to walk away, he keeps walking with you.
Alright, dude.
How many crow people do you have with you?
He kind of gestures over to the group. There's maybe like 5 or 6 of them over there.
Oh, okay.
Excellent companions, each and every one. They don't have names though. Or maybe I've forgotten. He kind of just stares off into space as he's walking with you.
They're like, people. Sorry, he does what?
He kind of is like staring off into space. Like he his sentence trailed off, and he just kind of stares off into space as he's walking alongside you towards like the center area of this camp. And then as you begin to like sort of make to leave the camp, he says, "Oh wait, I forgot what I came over here for."
Yes. And you haven't remembered yet, have you?
Give us something.
And then he, after a long silence, far too long, he. I have to find my notes on this because this is something.
And oh, sorry.
Ethan actually did.
Yeah, I like to think that the rest of the group is just like, oh, maybe walking off, and Harmony's standing there waiting because he gave them the one piece of vital information they needed to find Allan before, so she's like invested. She's like, no, what is this?
Right. So he stares off into space for quite a while, and pretty much everyone else walks off except for Harmony. And then he puts both his hands on Harmony's shoulders and says, "Beware. You must beware.
Of what?
The shadows live in the light. They live in the light.
They live in the light.
He's watching. He's always watching."
Thank you.
Oh. I like
and then
pat his
he
hands.
rummages into his coat and presses into your hand an object, and then sort of picks up the edges of his coattails and flaps, like just like runs away, flapping them and hopping.
I look in my hands.
You are clutching a mummified bird's foot, and you can see that its
A which
talons have been replaced with like silver claws almost. And as you sort of like look closer at them, you can see that there are little symbols carved into the silver.
Do I recognize the symbols?
Make a religion check.
Like you. I don't think religion's that great. 13.
13. They're not a language that you know of, anyways. Actually, what languages do you speak?
I speak Common, Infernal, and Draconic.
Yeah, they're not a language that you know of.
Hmm?
It looks like it could be a language of some kind, and what you can tell is that the script that they're carved in has this just very sort of weighty religious feel to it, but you can't really tell anything beyond that.
Can I cast Detect Magic on?
Yep.
Hey, question. When I cast magic using an item, does it trigger my wild magic?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless it's your amulet.
Yeah, it's not my amulet.
When you cast Detect Magic with the wand, let me see, it's not moving real quick. Yeah, there's a faint glow from the text itself, not from like the entire mummified bird foot, but from the carvings into it, and it's, I'm trying to think what school it would belong to, maybe Abjuration. But it's just very faint.
Okay.
You don't think it would be able to produce any effect or something like that, but there is some like lingering traces of magic in the carvings.
I'll bring it over to Hunter. Hey, Hunter.
Yeah.
You're like a walking, like, language dictionary, right?
Books of Harmony.
You know, like, all
Just
the languages,
silent.
right? I mean, you
What's your
installed that
point?
thing in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what language this is?
Correct it. Did I see her use the Detect Magic wand too?
Mm-hmm.
Is this magic? And I'll hand it back to you. And then the scimitar.
The scimitar?
Yeah.
Oh. Is the scimitar
And then
glowing?
I'll look at the
No,
ring.
the scimitar does not.
Oh, it's not magic.
Alright. And then
The scimitar just seems to be. I mean, it looks like it's dirty and it's.
I can make it magic if you want.
no thanks. I've seen what you do. I figured he was a serpent king or something. Maybe you would have some adornments.
It's dirty and covered in sewer filth, but when you brush that off a little bit, you can see that it
Prestidigitates.
looks to be made of fine metals. Like once Harmony prestidigitates it, it's actually really sparkly, shiny. There's gold. There's some gems in there. It'd probably be worth a fair amount.
Puts
I
it
could
in my
probably,
bag.
But
yeah,
it's
I
not
could
magical.
probably put a spell in there, make it do something
Oh,
cool.
we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Can I identify these runes or whatever they are?
What languages do you speak?
Common, Dwarvish, Sylvan, Draconic, Binary, and Keen.
It's not a language that you speak, but the runes are of. You speak a language that uses the same.
Is it
Script.
Dwarvish?
No, it appears to be the same script as Sylvan,
Okay.
but it's a different language and you can't really read it.
I'll take it and I'll bring it to Mara. Can you read these?
It's in Sylvan.
It's not
No.
Sylvan.
Well, it's.
It uses the same
Yeah.
alphabet as Sylvan, but it's not Sylvan.
I mean, we can ask.
What languages does Mara speak?
I speak
Common,
Common and
Gnomish? I don't know why I thought Gnomish.
Dwarvish and
Dwarvish.
these can't.
Oh, we can both speak Dwarvish together.
I'll bring it to Thaddeus. Can you read this?
Yeah, are they Elvish?
They are, in fact, Elvish.
That's one of the 3 languages I know.
I know, that's why I asked you last.
Now we're all kind of huddled together looking at this thing.
Wait,
Yeah.
can you read it?
What does it say?
I didn't write out the specifics of what it says, but it is a prayer to a goddess of some kind. Whoever it's a prayer to is not directly mentioned in the prayer, but it is a prayer for protection.
Okay.
Well, that's sweet of the crazy guy.
Can I have a little religion check here?
Yeah.
So I suspect this is probably some talisman of the Raven Queen.
I think that even without rolling a check, that's a fair assumption.
I'm gonna hold on to it because he gave it to me.
Alright. Well, Raven Queen's protection is with you for whatever that's worth.
Is it like a ring or is it just a little token?
It is literally like severed at like what maybe would have been the knee joint of a raven or a crow or whatever bird it's from, and then a mummified foot.
Oh,
So it's-
if we're going to be, it wouldn't be the first mummified thing I had in my bag. Stick it in there.
Remembers Parker.
I guess I like my mummified objects. Do I have a problem, guys?
I got a really complex.
There you
We're
go,
going
yeah.
to the Raven Queen's temple anyway. Maybe the
It could be important.
people there know it.
As you kind of glance back at the homeless man and the group of Kenku, they're all around a fireplace, sort of dancing around and flapping their arms, and he's flapping his coat, and they're all just cawing like crows.
I don't even look back.
I think it's cute. You know, maybe those Kenku aren't so bad when
Come on,
they're
Harmony.
attacking you.
Full circle.
I feel kind of bad for killing that one.
For walking.
No, you don't.
I kind of scared the crap out of him now that I think about
I feel
it.
like I have like Harmony with whole shoulders. Let's go.
Well, if it was a bird, it would be too hard to do that.
And it's at that point that you hear almost the way it rings through the chamber you're in, a deafening scream of a woman from behind you. And everyone's heads turn to sort of look for the source of the scream. And in the dim light of this nexus, you see the flaps of Jeremiah's tent fly open, and he looks around wildly, and he says, the baby! It's coming! Can anyone deliver a baby?
Oh
Oh
god.
god. I look at Dawn.
Dawn's eyes have gone wide.
Eli.
She's looked to Thaddeus.
I'll try. Thaddeus has a slight medicine.
Do I remember?
I feel like I wouldn't have experience, but we don't. I mean, we have
Okay,
some
yeah,
I'll try. Thaddeus will go in and try.
Then why fire up you?
Dawn and Eli both rush with Thaddeus back towards the tent. Like as Thaddeus begins to take the lead that direction, Dawn and Eli both kind of look at each other and turn and rush. that
Yako, do you know?
Okay.
Huh?
Yako, do you know?
The tiger just kind of looks at you.
Sorry.
Purrs a little bit and kind of rubs
Well,
its head
this is
against your head.
happening now.
Tiger.
So there goes the rest of our day.
And You rush forward, and instantly, as you get into the tent, there's blood all over the floor, and you can instantly tell that something is probably wrong.
Oh gosh.
And Dawn kind of looks to Thaddeus, looks to the rest of the group, and says, "All right, look, if we're gonna do this, we need space." And she looks to Eli and Thaddeus and says, "I think it's going to come down to us. Something's not right here, and we need to do what we can."
I agree.
Somebody have a knife? Who's got a knife? A clean one.
And a couple here.
And
I
as,
run out to find the nearest campfire and be like, I need hot water! I need towels!
Yeah, instantly, Dawn is trying to get everyone out of the tent, and Harmony's running around. You do manage to find water, not hot water, not clean water, but water.
I can prestidigitation it, make it clean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll firebolt the bottom. It'll be fine. As I'm bringing it back.
And as you're doing that, and Dawn and Thaddeus and Eli are starting to set up in the tent, and Helen seems to be on the edge of consciousness, with the pain, and she's just screaming as she's trying to now deliver this baby. But amidst that, Harmony, while you're getting the water, you hear shouts coming from the tunnel into the place. And it sounds like there are arrows being loosed
Oh no.
off in the darkness, and you hear shouts calling back, "Guards! Guards! We need guards up here!"
Oh no. I'll be like, Hunter! Mara, come with me!
And at
Work
this point,
quickly.
Come
I
on.
need to know, Thaddeus, do you want to stay and help deliver the baby,
Yes.
or do you want to leave it to
I'm
Dawn
gonna-
and Eli?
I'm gonna stay here.
I'm
Okay.
gonna give Thaddeus the bucket of hot water
Okay.
that I heated,
Um,
and then run to the.
Yeah.
Dawn
Off we go.
and Eli, Eli looks to the group of you and says, or he looks to Thaddeus and he says, "Look, Thaddeus, if anyone can do this under this amount of pressure, it's you. So I'm gonna go help the group." And then Dawn sort of looks around at the group heading off towards combat, and then looks to Thaddeus and says, "Do you want my help here, or should I go help them?"
I'm gonna need somebody's help.
All right, then I'm staying here. And she rolls up her sleeves.
Our two sources of light. Oh god.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Trying to think what to do, because I was expecting Thaddeus to go help in the fight. So I think I might give you Eli's stats,
Does
but I'm not sure how to do
Eli have light as a cantrip? Or does he not?
that. Eli can cast light. Yes.
Oh
If
my
you-
god.
See?
If you have him written up on DDB, you can have him join the campaign and I can see.
I have a monster stat.
He's a monster. I knew it. I knew it.
I'm going to take a picture of this
Okay.
and just give you my phone.
Alright.
As bad as a solution as that is,
Yeah, it works.
I didn't think about what if that is.
You can also just copy paste an email, I think.
That's true. I'll just do this. This is easier.
You want to roll initiative?
No, it's not easier.
No, I was about to say,
Not yet.
you've got my email right there.
We don't even know. We don't know. What we're.
But yes, I would like everyone to roll initiative.
Yes, yet.
Yes.
I'm rolling for Eli. Isn't it?
Is
I'll give you
initiative
this card.
still rolled? Do I get disadvantage because of exhaustion?
Yes.
Aren't you throwing a promise?
Yes.
No.
Oh, no.
No. I'm rolling at disadvantage because of my exhaustion. Do you have exhaustion? Am I the only one that has exhaustion?
Eli, no, Dawn has exhaustion.
Yeah. That's why I'm not letting Dawn do this.
Oh my god. Wow. Actually rolled pretty well.
Nice.
Would one of you,
Yes.
well, I'm trying to think how to divide labor so it's not just everyone
You want me
waiting.
to draw a map or something?
Yeah. Could you draw sort of a cross section of sewers with a 15-foot river of sludge going through?
So like two paths.
Yeah, two
how-
like
how
10-foot
wide?
paths.
10 feet. Okay. Yeah.
And then just sort of like
Where are
a
the
cross
panels?
section.
Who's my initiative? Thank you. Do you want the water to be blue
I don't.
Or green, perhaps.
Green? Yeah. Do that. Or brown.
No.
Okay.
Lucky.
Do you want just like a long thing?
Just a crossroads.
Yeah, so
10-foot path separated by 15 feet of water.
Okay.
exactly.
Along the entire thing.
Yep.
Like right there. And here's a pathway.
Alright, Nick, I have sent you my stats.
And then you said 15 feet of water.
Yes. He's currently at full HP and has used only one first level spell slot.
Waiting for it to show up.
There's his card. You can replace the one roll.
Oh, I thought it said he's a good boy at the bottom.
He's a good boy.
But it says have one good berry.
That's my role playing notes for you.
He's a good boy.
Aw.
Yes, he is. He
Alright.
is a good boy.
Ethan, is that okay? Or you want different?
Oh, but like a crossroads.
I know he's
Like, what do
looking
you want it to go this way? Like a X?
Like a
a
perfect
Yeah, like a
cross?
Yep.
Like an echo cross? Okay. And then, okay, I can do that. Yeah.
Do you need it?
I need a towel. Yeah. Give me some towels and water.
This is how
I'm delivering a map, baby.
That's all I have. Baby's being delivered in a tribe. They need towels and they need hot water.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. And then it took Twain.
Let's see here. So if I do a corner here, a corner here, like so.
If it's Eli's turn, you can say Eli, and I don't think anything, please. So like, hey,
I
hey.
think that is my knives.
You give me
What was I
one knife.
thinking?
Give me
Which
one.
knife did you get
If
him?
you want others,
You can give me right to the
Right,
first.
you did you? You have tons of daggers.
I have a bunch of knives. If you
Okay,
want them.
give me 20 yours.
You can have. Here, I'll give you like 4 if you want
I
knives.
only need one. I'm not killing a monster. I'm delivering
Well,
a baby.
we don't know.
In the panic, I give you 2. Here you
Hey,
go.
we don't know anything about Allan.
You want knives or daggers or
Knife.
Okay. All right, give you whatever you.
Not
want.
like something serrated and awful.
Well, I didn't turn it to get some help.
Oh, that's discrimination.
Oops. Oh, I did. Okay, I'm okay. I see you do one more line. No, I'm alright. I do.
I am pretty much set whenever you are.
Yep. There's that.
Is there water flowing down the crossroad part?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then this one's a path.
Yeah.
That.
I'm just
That.
gonna
Water
use that as
supposed
mini for Eli.
Where?
Oh no, Eli has it.
Little dude.
Which one is Eli? Is he green or blue?
He's blue on it. Because he's blue skin.
That's a dollar in there. You want that as initiative?
No.
I could.
Is that alright?
play with it.
Yep.
Just bring this up a little bit. Not the water. Or not. Sure.
I love that Zach still ends up being the one that's the map keeper, even in the new layout.
It's alright.
Did you say that Eli had used something?
One first level spell slot. Which side of this river would you guys like to be on?
Which side? Is that where the camp is? Coming
Yes,
from that
coming from
direction?
this direction.
I would assume we're all on the same side. I'm in the back.
Okay.
Where's Eli?
Oh yeah, Eli's with us too. In the back with me. Now you've got the hiccups.
That's just what I need. Yeah.
Stay behind and have
There you go. Let's see. Hunter can't get drunk though.
This is just getting worse and worse.
Didn't he also use maximum wisdom grasp?
Oh, he did. Check what level that is.
No, second level.
Why can't I position this map? This was so fine and then it bumped.
Oh, I'm sorry. I bumped it. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
I'm not careful sometimes.
Not stable thinking camera on my head.
Gosh, it's all bad. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
My fault.
Should have drawn the map out in advance. I just didn't want to give things away. Zach, can you
Yes.
can you position the lamp too?
Sure.
You guys have initiative cards? You gave them to me.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start going through the initiative. Actually, it's not here about first, so tell me what you want to do.
Here's Bianca's. Do I see these figures? Or... Here, I can do this if you want.
No, it's good. That's
You're good? That's good? Okay.
Got it.
I'm not gonna touch it.
Okay, so as you run down the tunnel, Eli casts light on.
Please?
Just take them off.
Yeah, sure.
Eli casts light onto Hunter's shield, if that's okay, so that there's light projecting from that.
Very great.
And what you see as you sort of come up to this corner is there are what you can only determine must be undead creatures of some kind. They have pale, sickly-looking skin. They're regular, sort of human-sized creatures, and they, by all accounts, have human-like features. But as the light sort of emanates across their bodies, they hiss and recoil from it. You can see pointed fangs
Two
in their
questions.
mouths.
One is, where are the guards that we're calling out?
You can see that there are
They're all
several
dead.
guards dead on the ground.
Oh no.
They're all dead. Okay,
One of
and then
them being the one that you called out to you in the darkness.
okay, and then the other thing is, did we see these creatures in the Shadow Fell?
No, not these creatures.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pull my bow out and make some shots then.
Okay.
All right. So, let's see what we got. How does a 22 do me?
That'll do it.
All right, I'm gonna do this as a pushing attack and push this guy into the water. So he's gonna make a DC 19 strength saving throw.
Okay. Do that. He fails and gets pushed into the water.
Okay, he pushed into the water. Is it? How deep is it?
The water seems to be like the creature disappears out of sight, and so but they like fell in backwards, so it's hard to tell.
Okay.
And especially since it's so murky, you're unsure.
Okay, and then he also takes 17 piercing damage. And then I'll push another one.
So 17 piercing damage, you said?
17 piercing damage. This one is a 21 to hit. Same thing.
That also hits. Yep.
So pushing attack again. I'll go back to
This time
Masteries.
it makes its saving throw spectacularly with a 21.
awesome. Way to go, zombie thing. 28 piercing damage. That's 1,
28,
2. I wasn't even sharpshooter. And then I just want to hit these things. And then I will do one more with a push attack.
This one you can kind of see the impact from it as the other one you couldn't see because it instantly like fell back into darkness and into the water. But you can see that your arrow doesn't seem to pierce its skin as much. You know, it's,
So it's like
it's what, yeah,
resistance.
it's what you've seen before. It's resistant.
So instead of that attack, then I will just try to do damage. And I'll do a sharpshooter on this one. With, yeah. Actually, no. I didn't say I was using my scope, did I? So I'm not going to do that. So I forgot to say that. So, do damage. That's a 19 to hit.
Hits.
And then
They're not wearing very much armor. They're kind of wearing what looks to be like normal people's clothes.
Alright.
Any armor that they have is from their skin. It
Yeah.
seems to be tougher than usual.
Okay, I was going to use the bowstring then.
Okay.
For this one, and he is affected by, hopefully, let's see, fear. Which is a wisdom save.
It fails.
Okay.
Nice.
Roll a 6.
So he's afraid. He is affected by fear. Frightened for 1 minute.
Let's not be undead.
Can repeat save at the end of its turn, it says. And I will do, see, none of that, but it's just magic damage. Now magic piercing for
Whoa,
20.
max damage.
Yeah. That's 20 piercing damage on the same one that didn't get pushed.
Okay. And as you, that bolt kind of sticks in its side, and it it like hunches over and like rips it out and hisses at you. And as it hisses, you can see that its front incisors have been enlarged, so it's almost got these fangs, and it's just
Vampiric, maybe?
yeah, a little bit vampiric. Then it is their turn. And Zach, could you move the
Yes.
ones on your side forward?
How far? Is this how close we are actually?
Yep.
All right.
Just so that 2 of them can get up close.
Okay. Like that.
And then the others, which you can't see, are going to do something over there. So
Sure.
I just have them leave them there for now.
Okay.
That other one that's in the water is going to try and climb out of the water
Okay.
and manage. And it's just going to...
Climb back or forward?
Actually, it's going to swim around and get like right next to Mara's feet. So Mara, you can see a clawed
Does it have
hand.
a-
4, 5, 6.
No, so it's very clumsy and it can't attack from here, but you can see clawed hands reaching up from the ground towards you.
Oh god.
These other ones over here. Look like they're kind of waiting in anticipation of being attacked, but aren't going to do much beyond that. They move their full speed and stay there. So the ones that are next to Mara and Hunter are going to make attacks against each of them.
Okay.
So here comes the 2 against Hunter. 18 is the best they could do.
Miss.
And here comes the 2 attacks against Mara. Of course. So we have a 12, which I think misses, or
Right.
13 rather. And then with its bite attack, it has a 24.
Just
I'm
realized
getting
roll
on, I'm
advantage.
getting on.
Actually, bite it can only do if it grapples you, so that's actually a claw.
Oh, I forgot.
I'm getting damage, I'm getting damage.
Okay.
But instead of dealing damage to you, it's actually just going to, it gets a hold of you and gets its claws sort of wrapped around you.
Ooh.
And you are grappled by it. Then that is their turn. Then it is your tiger's turn.
Okay, Tiger's gonna... Tiger! Can't really get around, can he?
Not super well now.
Okay. How do I do this? He can't... Is there anything he can do from here?
You could get in the water.
I don't want to get in the crappy water. Can he... Oh, I don't really want to jump across either, or do I?
Nah.
Yeah. Can I... Is
You
there
could try
a...
and jump across.
Is there a... Can he like pounce over? Do this? Does he have like a jump height or something for Panther?
I think he needs a running
He
jump.
has
to
a
get
climb
across.
speed. Can he like do like a wall climb?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, let's do that.
So he kind of like
So-
scrabbles across the wall a little bit.
Like jumps across. Okay.
Hardcore tiger.
Yeah, parkour tiger, and he's gonna do an attack against I guess the one that's grappling Mara.
Okay.
Oh, maybe.
And
Eventually we'll get to someone's turn who's not Zach.
yeah, okay, whatever. I got a 26 to hit.
That hits.
Okay, so this is just a claw. I think you just to do claw first. Yeah. So, or I guess I can choose, right? I can do a bite down.
Yep, do bite or
And then, oh wait, if I do the bonus attack, then it has to be a claw move. Like, okay, got it. So I'll do that, and he does 8 piercing damage.
Okay.
And that is the tiger's turn.
How many are out there? Did I put 10 out there?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be 8. Sorry, I'll take 2 of those.
2 of them.
I was just looking at the
Go
string
back
and
into the
thinking,
darkness.
that seemed to be a lot.
2 of them are in shadows, right?
Then it is Harmony's turn.
Sweet. I am going to turn and see the zombie things, undead things coming on the other side of the river and go, I don't think so. And I'm gonna cast Fireball
Okay.
at the 5th level.
Oh boy.
Place that.
Excuse me.
That's
My big booty.
Oh, hit the one I wanted to. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Just
So that
like
looks
that.
like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5.
See,
saving throws.
there's a method to my madness.
That just worked.
Calculated.
5 saving throws, and my wild magic is also going off.
Nice.
Oh,
So I might
boy.
like take a couple steps back away from Eli
Come
before I
on,
cast.
Charlie.
What is your safety?
Can you move me back like
Yes.
2 spots?
Sure.
It's my DC is so high. It's 19.
Okay. The ones that are across the way were taking a dodge action, so they have advantage. But the one in the water will have disadvantage.
Do you have
because he's in
advantage
the water.
on even
On
Okay.
spells?
I
on
believe so.
spells?
I believe it's Dex saves.
Well, this is a dex save, so
If someone wants to look that up.
I'm looking at it now.
8d6 plus 1 plus 2, so 10d6.
Yeah, you make it dexterity saving throws with advantage.
Cool.
So sorry. Also, this one was frightened, so he ran away, but this one would have gone to his place.
Oh yeah, that was a real scare.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You get an OA on that?
Huh?
Good thing he's in the sewer.
What'd you
so you're
say?
not scared
Would someone get an
back.
OA if you're in?
No, he wasn't.
He
next
wasn't
to
next to us.
Oh,
Ethan moved in close, so it was their turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my empowered spell
Alright.
because I haven't used any sorcery points today.
Now's the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Roll
have
the sleeves.
2 successes and 2 failures from the ones on the edge.
Oh, nice. That's
The one in the water failed, but they're submerged in water, so they'll take half damage.
So 3 half damages.
Okay, I'm using empowered spells.
With, come on, 6s. Big money.
Hey, that's much
Those are
better.
good.
Yeah.
That's a lot better.
Okay, just give me a second to count.
You got it.
Alright.
This was at 5th level?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
43 fire damage. Wow. 43 fire damage.
Die, vampires.
I've been
Whatever
waiting
you
for a
want.
chance to use my high level fireball since I got
I'm just a little concerned about the methane level in
it.
here.
Also, my wild magic's going to go off, so I'm going to go ahead and roll that for everything.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll smell better after it burns away or something.
Okay.
Remember you get to roll
Oh,
twice.
I get to roll twice. So,
Oh.
not
You
that
didn't,
one.
you didn't throw it, I swear.
I didn't throw it, it just fell out of my hands. It's a difference.
Alright. You just a little like tray or something.
I know.
Oh, that's funny.
Nope, we're not doing that one, so we're gonna do this one probably. Yes, 74. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It better not be grow. It can't be grow.
No. It was that, or it was this, or suffer 1d3 levels of exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's like I'm already exhausted
Oh,
so
that'd be
bad.
so
Yeah, you guys watched as Harmony kind of leaps backwards to get away from the blast and away from the vampires.
Mhm.
And as she does so, she kind of floats backwards before landing.
It's gonna be so helpful.
Just harmony things.
Yep, just harmony things. Floating.
Her
Yeah.
her feet just kind of like hover above the ground. until she
Hey,
finally
do I still
lands.
have movement?
You moved.
Actually, I'm
so-
gonna stay there though. Because this is.
It's then Eli's turn, so you're up, Nick.
Are all those creatures across the water still up?
Yep. Some of them look severely burned, and they're all hissing, but
Alright, well, Eli's gonna hopefully finish them off by casting Storm Sphere.
Yes, Eli! You do it!
This is
Strongest.
Oh,
Is it also a 20
this
radius?
is also 20 radius.
Nice.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, it
Perfect.
fits perfectly.
Oh, Eli!
So what do they need to do?
A flash of fire and
They
storm.
all need to, let's see, start of their turn, or when they are subjected to this. I have this a second.
You had it, where is it?
I had it. Here it
Howling
is.
winds erupt through the
Yeah.
sewers, and you can see this like central like sphere of lightning
I don't
begin
have
to
those.
form in the middle.
I don't even care.
Strength saving throws.
Okay.
And they don't
Doing this
with
with nothing there. Like, oh, I guess I'm
Plus
fine.
one. That's a failure. What's his
My
DC?
panther
16.
needs it now.
That's another failure. That's 15, so that's a failure. There's 18, so that's a success. And 20, so that's a success. So the one that is in the water and the one, well, one of them makes a success, I guess, of those.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so The ones that failed take 7 bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
And then I am going to use my bonus action.
2 pass.
1 pass?
2 pass,
pass.
3 fail.
So 3 fail.
Sorry, you said the ones that failed take how much?
Take 7 bludgeoning damage.
That's it?
Well, it's like, this is an ongoing thing.
Oh. Okay.
And then I am going to use the bonus action to cause a bolt of lightning to appear from the storm sphere.
Yes!
Hitting
Hit him?
this guy.
Those
Is that
are in the water.
the work in the water? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just writing down damages. Give me a
Spell
second.
attack. That's cool. I'm just going to arrange spell attack here.
Does it auto hit if he's in water? Or
I'll
like
give you
have
advantage,
special
though.
effects?
Advantage.
I
Yeah,
thought
I already
there's-
get advantage because he's within the storm.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah, but there was like rules text
That's a
for
d12 that you're rolling.
Which one? Oh, you're right.
I can roll very well with that.
Yeah. I saw him pick it up and I was
Yeah.
like, nope, nope. And
Alright.
you can see what he was here.
So that's 23 to hit.
Nice.
Nice.
That will do it.
Damn.
Yeah. And he is going to take 46.
Man.
Ooh.
46.
Boy.
Happy to let you use my
Nice.
base.
14 lightning damage.
Now he's stinky amber.
Sorry, number
14.
14.
And that was the one in the waters. There we go.
How stinky he is.
It's like you're keeping the minutes of our battle.
The
Like
lightning
that.
conducts out through the water, and you can see that that creature shrieks in pain.
Yeah, I have it.
I don't see any free lightning. So
Yeah, I don't think so either.
that's the end of the turn.
Yeah.
Emerging from the darkness on the side that your tiger is in, so only your tiger sees this, but you can see your tiger growl as something emerges from over here.
What does my tiger say?
You don't know. You
What?
can't see through your tiger's eyes.
Oh my
You
god.
see
But
it
my-
growl at something.
Oh.
Mara, it's your turn.
Am I still grappled?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, just trying.
Okay, so I'm gonna fly up to the ceiling and bonk it with him, twisting it.
She's still flying.
Yeah, fly lasts an hour, so it's already gone by this point. Or 10 minutes, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Alright, well that's not gonna work.
Not this time, Peter Pan.
Hey, but you have a swim.
Yeah.
You want to swim in that?
I'm wondering where people want to do that, but we'll probably protect me from it.
The water looks foul and noxious. That's all I'll say.
That's also gross.
That's not so really gross, but you can press it to take.
I mean, when you're done, yeah, but not while you're doing it.
Alright. Another action.
You can just stab him where
Yeah,
he
just
is
kill him.
with your dagger, just shank
Oh,
him.
I thought since I was
No,
grappled.
No, you're not
restrained.
restrained. You're just grappled, so you can still attack him.
Alright, well then let's get the one that does the other.
I mean, you can use both weapons.
Yeah,
Right.
but you can do
Okay.
one in the
And
outfit
the
and one in the main one. Okay. And you'll get sneak attack, right? The stalker's right there.
And Yakko,
And
yeah.
Yakko's
Yeah.
right there.
In fact, Yaku is probably flanking.
Yeah, we don't do flanking.
Oh, we don't.
Okay.
It's confusing because that's a critical roll.
Oh, is that a not 5th edition thing? I didn't think, I haven't seen it with it. Other D&D versions have it.
I don't think it's a basic one. Edition.
It's in the Dungeon Master's Guide as an optional rule, but we didn't do it from the beginning, so
23.
that'll do it.
There you go.
Yes!
Sneak attack.
Sneak attack!
And
Which dagger did you use?
I use the Raging, which
Raiden?
is Raging.
Yeah.
Thunder God.
Nice. So does it do extra 1d6 damage?
Alright, sneak attack is 6.
So, Raiden is 2d6.
Raging is 1d6.
2d6.
1, 2,
Right?
Raijin is one extra.
and 1d4.
Oh, one extra 1d6 plus the original 1d4 plus 1d6. Okay. I get it. I get it.
Got it.
I thought the base damage is also 1d6.
Nope.
Oh my god.
So this one that's grappling with you, right, is that one.
No.
No,
Looks like a
somebody
very-
won.
Lots of points though.
Hey,
Lots
but
of
lots
fives.
of times though. Yeah.
Alright, so 25.
Dang. Okay.
Plus, did you do plus to your damage?
Oh, plus your extra damage.
This is your main hand, right?
Yep.
Plus 5.
5.
Yeah, so 30.
Okay, 30. What kind of damage? Lightning?
Yep.
Nice.
Lightning and piercing. The blade goes into it, and as you pull it back out, just black blood pours out of it. That is Mara. And
She's
then,
got an
yes.
offhand weapon.
oh, Wretch does. Yep.
Wait, which one of us lets you teleport?
Fuji, I think. Not right.
Because she could teleport as described.
She did.
Can she
She
activate
would,
teleport
yes,
as an
but
offhand, or would it-
there's a thunderous effect, so some of you would be subject to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that would be okay. Okay, so I use this next.
Yeah.
But you can make a second attack with Fuji.
I've written down what you got.
It's the thunder step one, right? But we were just saying you can't really
Yeah, I
do
can't
that.
do that, but
because-
I'm just talking about the weapon
Oh,
itself. Is it
damn
the
it.
same?
Actually, Thunderstep comes from the lightning dagger.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, that one's flying.
I didn't write.
That one's the flying and
It
throwing
is the
one.
same though, but the extra damage is force instead of lightning.
1d4, 1d6.
Yep.
Okay, you've already used my sneak attack.
That'll still roll to hit though.
Oh, this weapon does an extra 1d6 force damage on
17?
attacks.
Does it?
Fly
Yep.
spell. What level is your day attacks? Last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
With that, you get that one into its neck, and it is rearing back in pain, but still clinging on to
Dang
life. Then
There we go.
you watch as their shadows begin to twist and form around them.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to make a couple of attacks from the shadows. So who is in attacking position? I think it's just Byakko and Mara and Hunter. So we'll do Byakko and Hunter. So here comes Byakko. That is 16 to hit.
17.
Okay, so it's a miss. And Hunter is a natural 1. So the rest of their shadows do nothing. But you can see that their shadows have that almost semi-corporeal form that the Shadow Dragon's shadows had, and they just like claw at you, but they can't seem to get past your shield or your tiger's fangs and claws. Then we are back up to Hunter.
Okay,
Thunder's punching
Shield
it.
that thing that's grappling her.
I will. So I'm going to use my bonus action to draw my short sword or
Wait,
shield
no,
out,
Yeah.
and I'm going to attack the one that's grappling Mara.
Okay, so you
Aw.
drop your.
Can I just stow it? The
Yeah,
3?
that's right. You can because you can use a bonus to draw. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And I'm gonna make some swings. If I trip him, does that count as breaking a grapple?
No, he could still trip and hold on to her.
What if I push him away? Does he hold on to Mara and bring her with?
Yeah, while he's grappling, he would. You could try to break the grapple if you want.
With like a shove, or just do I have to do an action?
You have to do an action to try and pull him off, or you could just attack.
How injured is he looking?
Pretty bad.
I'm just gonna do attack.
He had that wound in the neck, and there's one in his side.
So 3 short sword attacks. That was the lowest. This is a 14 to hit.
That does not hit.
Okay, and these ones probably do. It's a 23 and a 30, almost 28.
Both hits. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going. I guess, well, yeah, I'll just do damage. 9 plus 14, what's that? That is 23. What is that?
23.
That's right.
Uh,
23 magic slashing.
yeah, and you behead him with that attack.
Great.
And that body lets go of Mara and goes falling back
Kick
into
the body into the
sewer
water. Yeah.
Oh,
That was this one, right?
Hunter, thanks. It must be this glamour studded
Oh, yeah.
armor you gave me.
You're so full of it, Mara.
We're pretty
And
much
I'm
at
gonna-
9, but let's try and get through one more round of initiative really quick.
Alright, for
'cause
my
that was the top,
movement,
so.
can I jump back a little bit too?
Yeah.
Can I go like over next to Harmony a little bit?
Yeah, that vampire's gonna try and grab him.
That's fine. Grab me?
Yep.
Okay.
It only rolls a 18.
Miss.
with your sword and shield out. Yep, that's a miss. So
You will know it.
it fails to grab onto you. Then it is their turn. And you watch as every single one of them that you can see, some of its wounds begin to stitch together a little bit. I'll add their new HP in a bit.
Is it time for holy water?
You
No,
will
save that.
Okay.
But I might have. I mean, I can test out my new spell. But these guys are kind of. I don't know if it's worth it.
That's difficult for me.
Okay, good to know.
Well, it depends on how deep it is, right?
No, I mean the storm sphere is difficult.
Oh, storm sphere is okay.
Yeah. Because I can make those in an hour, I think, or until you use it. Until you use it, I think you can have like 3 blasts or something.
For what?
Potion effect.
Oh.
Okay. I'll explain what happens in just a second.
Wait,
I like
if
the,
you use it.
don't worry, the Wind Waker Ganon laugh.
The vampires who were in the gust of wind that is just whipping around, 2 of them begin to try and swim across and try and get out of it, but they can't because that ledge is kind of occupied at the moment. The other 2 who were close to the edge of it kind of step out of it, and they turn to the wall of the cavern and begin to climb across it as if it were like a flat surface, and just sort of they climb, claw and foot just across
Jeez.
the surface of
It's
the roof.
a sphere.
Huh?
It's a sphere. It's all difficult, right?
Yeah, I know. They run out of the wind and then climb up.
out of
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That's why I moved them out first and then over. But they are out of
They got
action
all the way
because
up.
they had to dash to get there.
Those 2 still allow me to make strength saving against the 16.
Failure and failure.
Well, they're both taking a mighty 3 damage.
Okay.
Ooh.
I might
They're both dead from that, right?
Nope, they're still alive.
Dear.
We're going to make some attacks against Byakko and some
Aw.
attacks against Mara. So let's see.
Of course. Of course, Mara.
Must be that
She's the only one who's left.
Don't forget your uncanny.
Against Byakko, 1 is a miss and 1 is a 13 or a 23.
That hits.
Okay, so that's a hit. And against Mara, well, let's do 1 more against Byakko.
Oh.
That's a miss.
Okay.
And then 2 against Mara. We've got a 25 and a 18. And then 1 more. That one's a miss. So one of them grabs onto Mara and then bites into her neck.
Uncanny dodge! Uncanny
Yeah,
dodge!
you can uncanny dodge to try and wriggle out of that. The other one makes a claw against Byakko.
Wait, you bit. Grabbed and bit in the same hit one.
Yeah,
It's
2
2 attacks.
hit.
I don't want to do.
So the claw against Byakko does 10 points of slashing damage.
Okay.
And then the bite against Mara, which you're uncanny dodging, does 7 piercing damage. Plus, so you can have that down to 3. And it also does 12 necrotic damage, which you have down to 6.
So my
So 9 total damage.
And then your max HP is reduced by 6, the damage of the bite. So you can mark that.
Your max HP is temporarily reduced by 6.
That's the vampires. It's the
Perfect.
tiger's turn.
It's okay. Huh?
Yeah, go turn.
Oh, okay. Got this. So one of them was grappling Mara again.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
And this one has clamped its fangs into her neck.
Is
She's
it that
pulling
one?
back. Yeah, the one that's next to you.
Alright, that's the one. Alright, I'll just do, I guess, an attack against it, because I can't really pounce on it either. Yeah, we're gonna do an attack with Gecko. That is a 22 damage.
That hits.
Okay.
I need to add 10 HP.
And that is 8 piercing damage. Yucko bites into him. Back. They're like chain bites. The hunter's gonna bite.
There was
Yucko.
how much piercing damage? 8, you said? Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Then it is Harmony's turn.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to shocking grasp the one that's right in front of me.
Good call.
Does exhaustion make this a disadvantage?
Just skill checks at
Okay.
level you're at, right?
Sweet. Okay. Then I'm going to shocking grasp him. Yeah, that's a 25.
Okay.
Okay, what did I shocking him? I haven't practiced very well. This is we are 3d8. For a cantrip.
Yeah. I'm saying.
Okay, that's 11 points of lightning damage, and it can't take reactions.
Okay.
So then I'm going to leap across the water to the other side.
Yep. Harmony kind of just gracefully floats across to the other side.
Like, hey guys, look what I can do!
There is one there that can attack you as you move.
Is it here or here? Which one do you want to go to?
On the edge, yeah.
Okay.
But, so a claw swipes out at you from one of them, the one you couldn't shocking grasp, because there's 2 there.
Mhm.
But it whiffs as you just kind of
Really?
float across. Yeah. I only rolled a 10.
Nice.
Wow.
Thanks for not making me burn a shield.
You're welcome. Is that it from Harmony?
I mean, I think that's all I can do.
Okay. Then it is Eli.
Okay. Bonus action, lightning is gonna strike out at this one.
Okay.
So that's the one I think Ravenmoor.
It is indeed.
Oh, it's a natural one.
Okay, lightning crashes against the cobblestones of the walls.
And then with his regular action, he's gonna cast Thunder Wave on the 2 that are right next to him.
All right, cool.
So
So that's
those-
a strength save.
Is that gonna hit Hunter too?
No, he can position it so it doesn't hit.
Okay.
What does that do?
Hopefully it will push them away. Constitution saving throw.
One is a failure. The other might pass with a that's a pass with a 19.
Yeah, that passes.
So we'll say that the one for simplicity, the one in the back fails.
Okay.
Oh, I actually would really like the one in the front to fail.
Fine. Okay.
'Cause that's the one I was trying to push away from me.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
So this one, what
Yeah.
happens to him?
He
You get pushed
10
in.
10
This
feet.
way?
Yeah.
Like that?
And this is 12 thunder damage.
The one who failed.
Yeah, 6 to the one. And there's a thunderous boom on about 300 feet.
Oh my god.
Nobody heard that.
Sorry. How much did you say?
12.
12. Okay. Right. 12 and 6. Got it.
Yeah.
Then a creature, which I will describe.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, I haven't moved. Where is he gonna go?
Oh yeah, does Eli want to go anywhere? Eli kind of.
Grabbing him for the cross.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I could do that.
I think Eli is gonna go over here so that if Mara wants to attack this one, I don't know why she would.
Eli kind of runs up to Mara and says, "Mara, I'm here. I'm gonna try and help."
Thanks, Eli.
God.
As a creature sidles into view next to Byakko, and this creature is horrifying beyond all measure. It is
Cool.
a
Great.
gaunt, human-like creature, but like completely naked, no clothes, but it doesn't have any sort of like human parts that you would recognize or anything like that. It just has vaguely human shape, but its hands are too big. They're way too large, and they have like these reptilian fins between them almost, and it almost has like you can see its ribs through its gaunt skin, which is just stretched too tight over all of its bones. But the most horrifying aspect of it is its face, which is not really human-like at all. It just has this vague human-like resemblance for the top of the head, no hair or anything like that. It's completely hairless. But its jaw just like drops like down to its chest, and it has this gaping maw filled with wicked-looking teeth. And it just kind of comes around the corner grabs onto the corner of the wall and just goes, "Hungry! Feed me!" and reaches out towards Byakko.
Is it a medium or a large
I think
creature?
it's a medium creature. One with bite, one with claws. Against Byakko, that is a 25 and a natural 20.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
no.
Tiger buddy!
Oh, no, Bianco.
So here's the bite.
This is where we end.
The bite is 8 piercing damage and 13 necrotic damage.
Okay.
And then the claws, which is the natural 20, is dang, a lot.
So wait, what was the total damage for that one?
Just hitting
13 5.
It was 8 plus 13.
Okay.
And then the claws damage is 36.
So that's 21 plus 36.
Yep.
So
And it
57.
picks up Byakko and kind of grabs it in its hands and it says, "Feed me!" And as it then bites into Byakko, oh no, that doesn't kick in this time. Okay. Yep, that's it for it.
Oh,
But
jeez.
it kind of bites in, takes a big chomp out of Byakko.
No, tiger buddy.
And then it is Mara's turn.
Mara, can I drink a fire breathing potion?
Okay, bonus action, glug glug glug.
It's like, hey, this question Allan gave me forever ago, and I forgot I had it.
Isn't it a cone thing, or is that?
It just says 30 within 30 feet, and the person has to make it.
Oh, it's just a
DC
single
13
target.
save.
Yeah.
It's a single target. Oh, I see.
But she can do it 3 times.
Yeah, so I guess like
In one action?
grappling me.
No,
Just
but
Gonna
she
breathe
can-
fire on it?
One
As-
action.
She has 1 hour to do it 3 times.
I see.
What does it need to do? A dex save?
Yes.
Yeah,
DC
13.
13.
Vampire. Unfortunately passes with a 18.
Wait, an 18?
Okay, so he takes half damage.
It kind of ducks to the side as you turn your
Yeah,
mouth
he
towards
does
it.
takes half damage on 4d6.
Yes. 46 fire damage. Ooh, that's really good.
15. Half to, so
7.
half to 7. Okay.
Okay. Still, that's good.
And then the shadows of these creatures leap out. And they are just surrounding Mara and Byakko. I'm so sorry, guys. And Hunter. So 2 shadow attacks against Hunter.
Oh, is it 10? Darn.
Oh, wait, there's only one that can reach you. So, that's much worse than what I rolled before I rerolled. So that's going to miss Hunter. And
Okay.
then there's, 2 on Byakko, 2 on Mara, I think.
There's, yep. But that one's feared, right? Or did he pass?
He passed his save
Oh,
last
but-
turn,
Okay.
so he came back.
What a jerk. Well, that wasn't the end of his turn.
Sorry, I'm losing track. So one of them hits Byakko with an 18,
Okay.
and then both of them miss Mara with a 10 and a 9.
Oh my god.
Yaka has like less than 20 HP left.
So Byakko takes 9 necrotic damage as the shadow gets its hand onto him, and then Byakko's strength score is reduced by 3.
3 more than it was before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's his strength score at now?
13.
And that is the end of this round of initiative. So with the hunger looming around the corner and these vampires surrounding Mara and Byakko, that's where we'll pick up next week.
Oh boy.
Thank you to anyone who tuned in. I'm sorry it took so long to set up the battle. I was woefully underprepared. Also sorry to Nick, because for some reason I didn't even consider that Thaddeus wouldn't go off to fight. But that's okay. We'll get to Thaddeus next week and you'll be able to deal with that birthing situation, which will also
Well, depending on how bad things go, that is also my single-handedly fighting off a bunch of them.
yeah,
That's true.
Party wipe.
we'll see what happens next week. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll continue this Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we hope you have a lovely night. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Alright.